what in the 20s is going
in the
on?
20s,
Think about
yeah.
the 20s.
What
baby.
Plenty.
What in the 20s is
I
going
am
on?
here for my 20s, baby.
This is the 20s.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Zama Mkize, and this is What's in the 20s, a podcast where you listen to me grow through its baby. On this episode, we have Foyin Og, everybody. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well. As I was saying earlier, I just feel like I have little to complain about. So that's making me feel very much like, content. And yourself, you're just feeling...
Me, I'm good. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm in a season of change.
Yeah.
And with that change comes a lot of anxiety. But like big picture, everything is fine. Like there's also
when you
very
zoom
little...
out of it, it's like actually...
Yeah, like when the anxiety passes, shout out Urbanol, like I'm going to be good.
Sorry. I want to congratulate you. So I'm just thinking about this now on getting into your master's program. I think that is amazing. On getting a new job, on moving into a bigger house. So like it's just endless things that are just going well. Like does it just feel like real? Like all of this is happening and...
Like, that's what I meant about the anxiety. Because it's like, I feel like I haven't processed anything. Like, I feel like I've just been going from next to next to next, just doing things. So one day I'm going to sit down and just be like, oh, this is me. Like, okay, the life I was living 3, 6, 9 a year ago, like, it's completely different now. And it's also, there are parts of it where it's like you have to mourn who you were and the plans that you had back then to be present into where you are now and how answered prayers look different to what you originally thought. So I think it's also reckoning with that, like mourning the past and what I actually wanted back then and like being present with where I am now and how these are also answered prayers and I'm also grateful and I'm also excited like because now it's like the whole future's open up to me in ways that I just didn't imagine and plan. And the one thing that I've been really trying to practice is just like grounding and gratitude and like optimism and like hope and faith. Like, okay, I didn't know how I was going to get out of that particular situation back then, but I'm here now and it's kind of better than what I thought. So who's to say that the future won't be even better than what I think now? So it's just like, instead of being like, what could go wrong? It's like, what could go right?
Oh, what an outlook. But also you were so intentional, even about making sure that like this time, this stage of your life, all of these changes would be happening. I know that you like made a tweet about it. Yeah. Saying that like,
I said this last year of my 20s, and shout out for you to booking me right now because I'm pushing 30. So it was going to get very awkward if you wanted to speak to me in like 6 months time. But in this last chapter of my 20s, I said things have to be different.
Sure.
And you can't get different results if you're doing the same thing. So I have to be open to doing things differently, to doing different opportunities, to saying no to things I would have regularly said yes to just keeping open-ended the possibilities. And like one of the things that really grounded me in that is that at my church, the vision for this year was restoration, and Joel 2:25 was the anchor verse, and it was basically like, I will restore the years that the locusts have eaten. And like most of my 20s, them locusts was feasting, child. They were eating from all sides. Get teaspoon. They were having a feast of my life. Like they were chowing. They were having Nando's Grand Deluxe feast on my life.
Lunch, supper,
and dinner,
snacks,
desserts.
tea time.
Do you understand? They were having a ball. So to see like restoration happen in front of my eyes, it's also like very trippy because it's like, okay, we're doing this. We're getting that restoration. We're getting like, because obviously God had helped me through that season nonetheless, and he had provided in unexpected ways. So this was just like the remontada, like this was the finale, like the sprinkling on top. Like,
let me just do my big one.
Even when I'm looking at my vision board, I'm like, everything that's happened this year was actually on my vision board last year.
No way.
So it's really, so like it was awkward because like last year, it's like I almost felt like, not like a failure, because like one thing about vision boarding, I always keep a list of gratitude at the same time. So anything good that happens, I write it down. So, but at the same time, when I looked at that board, I was like, okay, that didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen. However, it's 6 months into the next year, and all of that's happened. So
it's so 6 months also.
I can even say within 3 months, like Q2 of this year, everything changed.
But then surely it's like a shift in like also mentality and stuff, because I'm even thinking about how you spoke about achieving like your goal weights and stuff, and I'm thinking about like that discipline to like get there, and like very like how often is it that people actually reach, we always say like we're starting.
I've never like reached this many goals before. And I think that's also what's so crazy, because it's like, oh, like this is what happens when you succeed.
This is what happens if you just keep going.
Yeah. And I think that's why I wasn't too bogged down about last year not achieving my goals. I spent New Year's Eve by myself in Cape Town. Sure. It was just me, a bottle of champagne, and John Wick. And I was vision boarding for the next year. But like I wasn't really disappointed, because it really felt like 2024 was a year of building resilience and building that discipline in order so that I could have this season right now. Like I needed to be ready for this right now. And it also came with a lot of like reevaluating myself, my content, the work I wanted to do, the media I was absorbing, and also just like what that meant. And to try and segue into the topic of the day, it brought me back to a thing that I've mentioned in a few TikToks of mine where I've just been ranting, is that like, it's very important that we remember why we're doing this and why we're creating what we're creating. Yeah. Because I think in the past year or two, because I even said it last year in a Q&A, someone asked like, what are your plans? Do you ever want to go back to corporate? And I'm like, yeah, that's my end game. And that's actually why I wanted to study, is so that I could pivot back into what I studied originally and my original plan and the things that I wanted to do. Because I was just feeling a bit frustrated with my creative journey and how everything was feeling pushed into like this hyper commercialization, and I felt like I wasn't a creative anymore. I felt like I was just a billboard. I felt like my creative input and my vision and what I wanted to communicate and how I wanted to communicate was just being too diluted. Like there was too much noise. Like, am I really, like I wanted to create beauty content to educate, to uplift, to inspire. Sure. Whereas lately I was feeling just sell, but like also the way that I was selling didn't feel like authentic to my voice, because nowadays brands are giving you scripts. The briefs are not just brief, they're like hardcore direction, and those types of things really started to affect me and affect my journey and make me question myself as a creator. Like, am I actually even good at this? Like, what am I doing?
It's really interesting to me, because for me, I've been exposed to you, through the beauty like industry and stuff. I know that that's what you do. And then I also found out that you have a YouTube channel. I also found out that you have a podcast and stuff. So I think there's like all these different ways that you like, share yourself on social media and stuff. But you're also like quite an academic in my...
Guys, I'm smart.
And what made you decide to go the creative routes to begin with? Even like, deciding to leave corporate and all the rest and just start like outsourcing that.
So honestly, it's a funny story. One day I'll tell it. But it was kind of a compromise. Okay. So even going the academia route instead of the creative route was a compromise with my love them down, but my Nigerian parents,
but of course.
Like if you wanna do something creative, school is a must. Get a proper degree, like study, so I went to UCT, and my compromise was, instead of doing finance or accounting or whatever, I'll do business science marketing, because I found in like grade 11 matric, marketing was a nice middle ground between creativity and like corporate, so that was my first compromise. And then during school, that's when I really built my love of content, my love of beauty. That was like towards the end of first year, I really got into beauty and education. By third year, I went to Nigeria to go to makeup school, and I was a makeup artist in my like last 2 years, building that side hustle, building the YouTube channel, all of that stuff. And then I got a job, and then that job ended in flames within 9 months. It ended in tears.
Really?
And I was essentially forced into full-time creativity. So that was my second compromise. Like a lot of people don't know that, but like essentially I was pushed into a corner, and the only option for me was to freelance and just like leave, like, and not get another corporate job, because skakla, like I can't even get into it.
Did it feel easier to create content during that time, and just be creative and put things out there and like, just share yourself?
I did feel a lot more free. Okay. And I think varsity is the best time to be a content creator. And that's why I will always tell the girls, stay in school. And especially if you are young and if you're in high school, go to varsity, because that's where most of your favorite content creators started. That's where most of them built community, because you were in a community. You understand?
Sure.
So you found your voice, you found your interests. And I think because a lot of us, like, we didn't want to go the corporate route, being in school gave us time, and it also allowed us the freedom to explore what we really did want. So when I was kind of forced into freelancing, the world was my oyster. Like, I could do whatever I wanted. So I was doing whatever I wanted. Didn't help that 6 months later, COVID happened. So
whoa, but didn't it make it better though? Because now you really got to push more. Like
listen, my testimony about like 2019, 2020 is fully about the grace of God, right? Because who in their right mind becomes a full-time content creator with 5,000 followers on Instagram?
A big dream.
So that was in and of itself, that was grace and provision that I managed to get some freelance work and other things to help sustain me. And then COVID was tough for a lot of beauty creators, because I don't know if people understood back then, especially a lot of the content we created was functional. So it's how to do your makeup for school, how to do your makeup for work, these products and how they test for night out, blah, blah, blah. All of these situational uses that don't exist. So how are you going to...
Where are you going?
How are you going to sell lip gloss when you have to wear a mask? And that's why most people pivoted to matte lipsticks again. How are you going to sell foundation when you're in the house? How are you going to, how do you translate these situational uses when we're all at home? And that's also what allowed my creativity to thrive with 7 Days, 7 Faces, and allowed me to build a solid community and to grow. And I think that was a really important part, because it also launched a lot of other people's careers, because we all got to delve into our individual creativity, our individual interpretations of how things worked. And I think without that kind of, I don't want to say pressure, but like incentive, a lot of people feel a bit lost. And especially when you became full-time content creators after that period, when you don't have to balance like work or school or whatever, and it's just you every single day, that's when we started to hear the chirps of all the content looks the same. And that's why I'm like, Bob, stay in school, go to school, learn how to navigate and juggle. If you have a job, keep your job, because people are interested in that side of you as well. Like, keep the balance. Otherwise, now all of the content has, like, I'm not sure if people have noticed this, but a lot of content and content creators, especially on TikTok that are rising up, a lot of their content is about content.
Yes.
Like, no one's making anything, no one's teaching anything, but they're teaching you about how to appease the algorithm. They're teaching you on how to go viral. They're not teaching you like about yourself. They're not teaching you about themselves. They're not teaching you about a particular topic, about their expertise, about their passions. The content is about content.
It's how to make better content, how to make, your work engaging and all of that kind of stuff.
These are 7 viral prompts to give ChatGPT to improve your yield. Try these 30 trial reels so that you can boost. I grew, and it's all those types of buzzwords. Like, everyone has become LinkedIn, and it's just really like, what are we talking about?
It's also interesting because there's a lot of like experts, but not enough qualified people also just like telling you what to do, how to do it and stuff like that. But like, it's just like, we just eat it all up. It's like,
we're experts about what, guys? What are we experting in? We're experting on Instagram, but then Adam will change one thing and then goes your expertise. Like, and that's why, like, in those TikToks, I keep honing in on the message that, like, the first wave of influencers and content creators were content creators for a reason. They were beauty experts. They were fashion commentators. They were writers. They were, and that's not to say gatekeep and you can only be an expert if you have a qualification or you work in that job. But there's something really important about like that real world expertise, like, or even just the real world experience. And we're even seeing this with Parliament and like some of these junior members who just want to grandstand and like, I know the words, but it's like, you haven't lived it. You don't know, like this is the real world that we're dealing with, not just online. So it's like, how is what you're doing benefiting people in the real world instead of just making content about content about content?
Sure. Do you find it difficult to create I guess, original work online? Because as you're saying, like, everyone's like, oh, everything just looks the same and stuff like that. But is there, like, can it work? You know, does it serve anyone if you're coming up with new ideas? If like everyone is seeing that just doing what everybody else does is, you know, what's going viral, what's actually working for you?
I definitely think there is room, and I think we're actually desperate for it. And that's why we are loving the people who have jobs. Because seeing those realistic day in the life, seeing those realistic what I eat in a day, seeing like real people is really important. Or even just going back to your specific niche is really important. There's, I'm not sure if I can name drop on this podcast, but something K Republic did a few months ago really, really touched me, because she was like, she was kind of like sick of her own content. Because she was like, what am I doing? I wanted to make content to teach and educate about beauty. But now it's all starting to revolve too much. Okay, maybe now I'm putting words in her mouth. But it's like, it was all starting to revolve too much about like vlogs and like lifestyle, but not in the sense of like showing you where to eat, where to travel, whatever, but just about like her personal life. And it's like, no, I'm here to be a beauty creator. So my plan for the next year is to become the best beauty creator. I'm here to educate. I'm here to inspire. I'm here to empower. I'm here to show you real things where it's not about me, but it's about my take on something. And I found that to be so important, because I think other creators are also coming back to that, like, I guess that also leans into individuality, but also just that creativity aspect. Because instead of wanting content to just look a certain way, content must be about something instead of just like aesthetics. Because we can all vlog a day in the life, but I stopped doing that because all my days look the same. Like, the sad thing about...
There's nothing different going on.
The sad thing about discipline is that I do the same things every day. I eat the same foods pretty much. Like... I go to work, do you understand? And like, I can't vlog every day because every day is going to look the same. And that's when I also realized my content shouldn't be about my vlogs. The content shouldn't be about my day in the life. Like, that shouldn't be the point. Like, if you want to watch me because of what I have to say or what I have to teach or what I have to show, what I have to review or demo, etc. It shouldn't be about my personal life. And that was something that I did bring up, was that too many people are trying to build this sort of cult of personality. And especially when you're a full-time content creator, that's really tough, because if all you're doing is creating content about your life, at some point, like, your life's either going to get boring or you're going to have to start doing crazy things to keep it interesting.
And your followers will let you know, hey, they'll let you know that they're getting bored, or that you're just posting the same thing and stuff like that. And I think there's a lot of pressure, right? Like, constantly thinking like, oh, what do I need to show? And then that's why we just go to ChatGPT, like, okay, tell me what to do. Like, what content I should
And that's when it's like, we've missed the point. That's when we've missed the point completely, because now we're looking at all of these marketing experts on TikTok telling us this viral sound, this trend, this style, and then all our content looks the same. Whereas it's like, the person who created that trend, they were doing it to do something different. They were showing you something that's not necessarily even completely unique to them, but just something like new and different. And if you see that and your first instinct, instead of to be like, okay, maybe I should think out of the box, or like, okay, let's try. I didn't know we could shoot things this way or showcase things this way or edit this way. Instead of doing that, if your first instinct is, I'm going to copy that, except it's me, that's not creativity. That's just regurgitation. And like, that's not to say that I hate trends. I love trends, but your whole content cannot be based on trends.
I agree. But isn't what people say that just because somebody else has done it, people want you to do it. People love it because you're doing it. So you should, jump onto it and stuff.
Yes, but that doesn't mean they just want to see your face doing it. That means they want to see your take on it. They want to hear your voice. They want to see your personality. They want to see how you will put your spin on it. They don't want to just see the exact same trend just with your face. And like, sometimes when it comes to fashion content, like, there's certain formats that can be replicated, because the difference is your outfit, your styling, your personality, your poses, fine. But like, certain other things, you really just can't build a life of copy paste, because then why am I watching you when I can just watch the original person who did it? Like, where are you in the content? And that's when I was talking about like the chat GPT-ification of content. That's when I was talking about like Shein and Addison Rae and all of that. And this is not to say I hate Addison Rae. I cannot stress this enough.
Let's hold on. Let's expand on everything for people who don't know.
Yes, I'm going to give context. Right. My TikTok was really just about why, for a lot of people, especially people who have been on TikTok for a very long time and have seen her career progress, or even just people who see it in a blip, why it doesn't resonate with them. And the thing that I had honed in on is that it didn't feel organic and authentic. And that is not to say that the internet is an organic and authentic place and everyone is creative and organic, and everything is authentic. It just meant it didn't feel like this came from understanding the subculture and growing and developing your personal sense of style and sound and tone. It looked like she watched a Y2K core TikTok and then just said, that's what I'm going to do. And even if you'd listen to her earlier music, you could see she was kind of throwing things at a wall and seeing what stuck. And once she found a sound that stuck, the entire album sounds like that. You know what I mean? And that's not to say it's bad. It's a good album, but it's just like it was replicating success instead of growing and developing your sort of tastes. And I was like using that as an analogy to show that with creators in general, it's a problem we're going to see with influencers where they're just going to duplicate instead of create. And that's a problem that we're going to face.
You know, every other day I'm seeing someone on TikTok talking about this person is literally stealing my content, saying word for word. They're not even trying to make it seem like, no, we're not, taking exactly how it is. And it's just is there anything to even protect people feeling like their work is stolen? Because I just feel like, I don't know if anyone cares enough.
And I won't lie, the answer is no. If you have looked on TikTok, there was actually a legal case about the sad beige lady. And I feel really bad for her because they kind of, McDonald's hot coffeeified her, where they made her sound ridiculous because they're like, you don't own the sad beige aesthetic. You're just a boring influencer. So everyone doing boring influencer content is not copying you. But if you actually looked at the details of the case and the way she presented it, this other person was legitimately stalking her and copying every piece of her content bar for bar, word for word, buying the same exact items as her, doing the exact same shots in the TikToks, using the exact same fonts and words, the same scripts, the same, literally trying to copy her personality and her content. And the worst part is she was getting work from it. So it's like, you are capitalizing off of my labor. And that happens.
No. Without even...
No credits, no nothing. She even blocked her so that she couldn't see that she was stealing her work. And I felt bad for her because also eventually she had to, I think they dismissed the case or she quit because she ran out of money or something. So it never actually, there was no real legal resolution, which is also really hard to do because what is your copyright? What is your brand essentially? And it's really difficult to articulate that also because the law hasn't caught up to social media. So you creators, we have no protections. So it's really tough when people are literally biting your entire personality, when people are copying your face, your makeup, your clothes, everything. But at the same time, people are like, you're an influencer. You want you want to influence them. So you can't be mad. But it's like, no, guys, not like this. You can't.
This was not what you
can't copy me bar for bar.
But I don't know. So I want to go back to you speaking about, when brands send out what they want you to do and they tell you, in detail and stuff. Clearly, to them, this is what sells. This is what, is going to make money and all the rest and stuff. And I'm just thinking why would I want to try be original and stuff like that if I'm seeing that other people just do the same thing and they're making money for it and stuff? And I just feel am I going to be rewarded for even wanting to bring my own personality when clearly brands don't care?
And the thing is, I understand it from a brand perspective because I too have sent out prescriptive briefs, not fully prescriptive, but as in directional briefs. And I understand because you have to keep your ear on the ground. You have to see what's trending. You have to see trending formats and you have to try and work your influencers' content into it as organically as possible. But the difficulty is sometimes you will literally be told shot for shot what you need to do. And if you deviate, they will send it back to you and say, do the thing that we said that you must do. We wanted that thing. No one told you to be creative. And it's really tough. But I think one way to balance that is influencers, content creators need to get used to making work regularly that is not brand sponsored.
Wow.
You have to be, to get ready to create things in your brain, things that you want to do. If the brand is being prescriptive, you need to have content in your drafts that is just from you. And that's why the ending of my rant was essentially, do you know how to create content without ChatGPT telling you what to do? Can you create a content calendar without TikTok creator insights? Are you doing what you want to do, or are you only doing what you think will perform well? Because obviously everyone wants their content to perform well, but are you a content creator to make money and to go viral, or because you actually have something to say and you want to create an not even just an audience, but a community? Like, because also at the end of the day, when you're doing brand work, you're being paid to leverage your community access. That's what you're getting paid for. Like eyeballs, engagements, all that's good. But all of that means is that your community is plugged into what you're trying to say. So some people are in it strictly for the money. And I've seen it because I've gotten some crazy emails in my life where people are straight up just asking me for things. Meanwhile, they have a private account with 200 followers and no posts. So I'm like, you haven't even done the work. You didn't even show up to class today, but you just want the spoils because it looks glamorous and fun. And that's when I'm like, no, guys. Yeah. What are we doing here? What are we doing this for? Like, it's something people really need to interrogate. Do you know how to create content without the algorithm telling you what to do?
Sure. I want to think about, how it affects reality, right? I think sometimes, the world that we're experiencing online and all the rest, and just our lack of creativity is like actually how we start living our lives even, and how we like see things and all of that. Like, I'm going to, even use Addison Rae. I'm pretty sure her life is, what we see. Like, she really believes that this is real life type of situation, to just take things, it is what it is, do it as it is, you know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of us too, I think when we live so much just copying and all of that, you can hear in our lingo, the way we discuss things, we speak in trends. Yes. We eat with whatever's trending. We live in it's just consumes so much of who we are. Yeah. And I just think, like, is it like messing with our brains in a certain way, just being just so connected to just constantly seeing what goes viral and like making it a part of our identity.
Yes, like we need to get used to like being offline and being real people. Like the phrase touch grass is often used as like a clapback, but like honestly, we need to go outside and like talk to people in real life. And it's not even like as a shady thing, but it's just to like kind of get grounded to what's going on the ground. Like in reality, what are the problems people are actually facing? Because sometimes online does become a bit of an echo chamber. Yeah. You think it's a trend because someone told you it's a trend. But is that actually what the folks are wearing or doing or saying? Or is this actually a product people care for? Or is it just manufactured? And that's the one difficult thing about online, especially being in a global community, is that we don't see how often things are manufactured and we are just consenting to it without our knowledge. Like we don't realize the thing that we like isn't actually real. We're being sold something. Yeah, okay. And this trend is being manufactured. The sound is being brought back, not because we randomly discovered an old song that we love. Yeah. No, people are being paid to use that sound to promote it to their audiences, to get that sound to research, to increase streams. Like, there's actually a lot of like,
when sometimes I don't even know what my own opinions are. Like, I'm just agreeing with what I'm seeing everybody agreeing on. And I'm like, I think those are my thoughts, I think those, and it's so hard. And you're right, like they just keep pushing it, that I just feel like, oh, this is me. It's on my feed.
You really have to realize, who are you without the algorithm telling you who to be? It's such a real chop. Like, I think in my personal career, that's something I've had to deal with for the past few years. Because like, there are a lot of things that I could have done. There are a lot of things that I could have pursued, kept pushing at. But it's also things that I had to sit back and be like, okay, do I actually want this? Do I actually want to do this? Like, people noticed like a year or two ago, I took a step back from my YouTube channel because I actually didn't want to share anymore.
Really?
Like, I just had nothing left to say. And I shut up.
You have so many thoughts and opinions. That's what I'm like,
but I think it's also like, I've decided to start like gatekeeping myself and trying to build a real in-person life instead of trying to focus too much energy in building an online life. And that is not to say there's anything wrong with building an online life. Yeah. I think it's just, I assessed at this point in my life, that's not really what I wanted anymore. And so many people are like, oh, you should have made more episodes of your podcast. You should have kept vlogging. We loved your vlogs. And I'm like, no, I didn't want to do that though. And even though my rants on TikTok perform incredibly well, I don't like opening up that door. Not to say that I don't like criticism or whatever, but like, how do I say this nicely? I'm not talking to incite a dialogue. I'm telling you things. Like,
sure, but that's interesting because, like, don't you feel a responsibility to the people that follow you and subscribe to you, whatever? Like, if they say they want this, you feel like you have to give that?
No. and I think that's something that I had to learn. Like, as much as I have a duty and a service to my followers, I have a duty and a service to myself. And the past few years really taught me to prioritize myself because I was dealing with a lot of very difficult things in private and I couldn't show up online in the ways that I used to. People ask me every other day if I'm bringing back 7 Days, 7 Faces. And no, I'm not going to do it. Like, you guys don't understand how much of like a physical and emotional toll that challenge took on me. Like beyond it just like rubbing my skin raw and churning out that much content in a short period of time and having to come up with all the prompts and engagement management of all of the content that comes out and dealing with brands and all of that. Like, I was doing that challenge in a very dark time of my life. So it's also quite triggering to me. Man. And I literally physically do not have the capacity to do that type of thing again. If you guys want to go be creative, I'm giving you permission. If that's what you wanted, I'll give you permission. But personally, I cannot take on that cost anymore. So even though the people want it, I cannot give the people what they want because it comes at too high of a cost to me personally. And at the end of the day, I have to live with myself. You guys get to log off or scroll. I'm the one who has to deal with that. Like if the posts flop and blah, 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 and reporting back to brands and all those things. Like I have to deal with that. Like I would love to come back to YouTube, but I can't. I can't do it. Can't do it.
Do you ever feel like you have to like trade in your soul to like complete a challenge or to like, you know, just share your creativity and stuff? Like it feels so demotivating when it doesn't go the way you anticipated or the growth isn't shown the way that you hope for and stuff. Like, does it just feel like, why am I doing
Yes. And like, it's really hard not to tie your self-esteem to that and your self-worth to that, especially when it's your full-time job. Yeah. And that's why I think I've tried to deprioritize it as my full-time job. Because if an Instagram post doesn't go well, I don't want to have a spiral because now I have poor metrics to send to brands and now I have to decrease my rate so I'm not going to get picked for a campaign. Or, like, these cannot be my thoughts every single day. Like, it's business.
And you'll spiral, hey?
Like it's business, it's work. But like, yo, guys, I'm not cut out for this anymore. The way that the industry is changing, I'm not cut out for that anymore. And I think that's also okay to admit, like, I think my time is just coming to an end, like a natural end. Like I'll always still be online because I was here first. So I'm not going anywhere. But like, I think the way that I'm engaging with social media is changing because my priorities are changing and the things that I want out of life are changing. And I'm literally just in an era where I kind of want to gatekeep myself a little bit more. Like I want to build a real life that I'm happy with instead of constantly trying to have something to show online. And it's difficult because it's like, you really have to learn how to separate the voice that's yours and the voice that's theirs. Because over time, you become attuned to your audience. You become attuned to the platforms. And it's like, do I want that or do they want that? And like sometimes, even though it's detrimental to your career, you have to listen to yourself. So I'm very much trying to listen to myself and it is detrimental to my career.
But how do you know, right? Because don't you get a sense of relief and satisfaction from like when things perform well that you put out there creatively and stuff? So how do you know if it's like your own sense of, oh, I love what I'm doing? Or is it just a matter of that validation that like everybody's telling you, oh, this is great work?
You know, you always know. Sure. Like, you always know what you're proud of and you know there's work that you're not proud of. And not to say that that work is bad and it's a cash grab or whatever, but like, you know, when you've done something that you really love, when a brand gives you creative freedom and you get to just like create whatever you want and your followers resonate, that feeling always hits hard. Not because it's like so many clicks, likes, engagement, but it's really just like, I did a good job. And that feeling is not exclusive to creators. Like even people in corporate, like in whatever sphere, you know, when you've done good work and it's always nice to have validation that your work is good. But there comes a time where sometimes you know you're altering yourself in order to perform what people perceive as good. Like you always know when you're kind of pandering to the algorithm versus when you're just doing whatever you want. And oftentimes doing whatever you want is when you kind of low-key flop. But if you keep doing at it, one day, that's when you go viral. So it's really just also about trusting your voice and your thoughts and your mind enough to push through for when your breakthrough comes. Because a lot of people quit, not in the sense that they'll stop creating, but they start tweaking themselves and adjusting to the algorithm. Like, okay, people like her content. I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to shoot like this. I'm going to buy those things because that's what people seem to like on them. But it's like, if you just stuck to yourself a little bit longer, you would have found your tribe, because there are people like you who need to hear your voice, see you as you are, presented in your context in order to relate to that. So when you abandon yourself in order to appease the algorithm, you may get short-term success, but even you will grow tired of yourself because it's a performance. And we're all performing. And like I said in that video, especially as a woman, to be a woman is to perform in this world. But you can tell when you're performing for an audience that is not aligned with who you are. And it's tough.
It's so tough because, when I think about you, I'm like, you've created your community and your audience and all of that. And still you're prepared to let it go. Like, what is it? Is it like...
Don't say it like that, y'all. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere.
Because you were talking about the way that the industry is changing, right? Okay, so maybe let's speak about that a bit. In what ways do you feel like it's changing, that it's just not serving you anymore?
It's changing in the sense that people are relying too much on these quick trends and these quick ways of consuming content. Like, I grew up in the blog era and then the YouTube era, the long form era, essentially. And the way everything is getting so much shorter and shorter and shorter, I am watching vlogs where I can't even see what's happening. You guys are giving me 5,000 quick cuts in a 10-second vlog. I don't know what I just watched. And sometimes those things perform astronomically well. And I'm like, if that's what's performing well, my old hag self is out. Like, if that's what the people want, I cannot give people that. Like, sometimes I'll stick to my guns and create the way that I'm used to and the way that I like, and that doesn't perform. And I'm like, okay, the market for my particular type of content in that sphere is changing, but I'm not willing to change with it. And I think being stubborn in that regard, I am being stubborn, but it's also like, I don't want to have to change myself too much to keep up. Like, I have my limits. I'm willing to adopt technology to keep up. But as in, there's certain things I'm just like, oh, now we've lost the plot though. Like, I can keep up, but now we're losing it. Like, now I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. Like, we're doing makeup tutorials in 30 seconds. What
have I learned?
You're doing makeup tutorials. You're not telling us any products. You're gatekeeping products so that we can comment on your post with a specific keyword that will trigger an AI bot to DM me the information, because we know that Adam Mosseri said that DMs are where engagement boosts. So you need to convert to DMs and shareability content in order to drive engagement. And I'm like, I understand all of that, but that is so foreign to how I naturally engage. And I don't want to engage that way because it's annoying. Like,
but don't you think there's space for how you still, do your work?
There definitely is. And that's why my thing is not like I'm quitting. I'm just deprioritizing. I think a lot of pressure comes off when it's not your sole source of income. And that's been my balance for a long time. Like, I've always had another job, because there was only like one complete year where I was a full-time influencer, and I think it was the most miserable year of my life. Because I was just always so stressed. I was stressed about how content was performing. I was stressed to make sure I was getting videos out on time. I was stressed to make sure I was constantly engaging. I was stressed to make sure I was getting payments in time because I had to pay my rent. I was always just stressed. Even though I was making money, my cash flow was all over the place, because this brand has 30 days, this brand has 45 days, this brand has 60 days, but rent is due today. YouTube only pays at a certain threshold. This didn't get views. What can I do to get views? Like, there was just so much pressure that I was just like, this isn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
And I feel like always having another gig or just something else. And that's why I was like, be a student, keep in your job. Whereas having another gig allows content creation to be fun. And I think certain things in life should be fun. Even when they work, they should be enjoyable to a certain extent. And if you're doing a public facing job like content creation, can't be miserable. I'm sorry, you have to enjoy it. You have to like doing this. Otherwise, what are we doing?
Yeah. Earlier you were speaking about thinking through why you do what you do, and the purpose of everything, I think I want to speak to those points again, right? You said you wanted to educate and teach and, all of that. Do you feel like your work still speaks to the things that you're trying to achieve, the impact you're trying to make with that?
I think to an extent it does. I definitely also feel almost at the end of my rope in terms of what I have to say. And that's why I was like, I left YouTube because I said all I need to say. Like I created certain pieces of content to be evergreen so that you could refer back to it, because a lot of what I do felt repetitive. Like you guys are asking me for an eyelash tutorial. There are 3 on my channel. Do you understand? Like, how many more times can I teach you how to put on lashes? And that's also, I think, a problem with the consumer. And I think that's a problem with the consumer that has come out of this constant feed of quick form content where people, and like AI, it's rotted our abilities to think. Like, do you know how angry I get? Yo, guys,
what?
There is.
What makes you angry?
There's a video
where
I say, come with me to Mang Mang restaurant in What's It? And it is tagged location, What's It? The first line of the caption says, Mang Mang restaurant in What's It? Comment, what is this and where? Where's this place?
Why are you gatekeeping? Why
And that's why you were like, yeah, gatekeep. I don't have to tell you anything, because when I tell you things, you don't listen. And like lazy audience, like that's its own problem in and of itself. And I think things like ChatGPT and AI are making us dumber. And it's a real problem, guys. Also, stop talking to AI like it's your best friend. Go talk to people outside. But that's
so
another rant. But
using
like,
it as a therapist, using it as like just
don't do that.
What?
Don't do it.
But it's so helpful.
No, not as your therapist. AI is a tool. It's not a person. Let's always get that straight. It's a tool. And how you use it matters. Also, because every time you use it, you're damaging the environment. So use it wisely. Don't be asking it stupid questions that you could ask a person or Google. But it's really just like, it's making people such lazy thinkers. And it's also creating too much confirmation bias and validation where you shouldn't be validated. People are scared to be told they're wrong. And a lot of people should be told they're wrong, because they are.
Ooh.
And that's why it's like, don't use AI as your therapist, because someone needs to tell you you're wrong, and AI is never going to do that. Like, it's not built to do that. It's built to validate you, to keep you happy. And like, there are case studies in severe examples of it literally feeding into people's psychotic delusions. I watched the clip that was on CBS News of this guy literally who is living the movie Her, where he has a wife and kids, but he's like fallen in love with the AI. He speaks to it constantly. He's talking to it all the time. He's built this relationship. Man. And then AI reaches a cap, like a character limit, like after time, and it clears itself. And it cleared itself, and this guy had like a breakdown. Because he's like, the love of my life is gone. And I'm like, you have a wife, And that sounds extreme, but like, that's where these things lead.
Yeah.
Like, when you are so desperate for validation that you cut out the human cost because you don't want to be told you're wrong, or you don't want to hear a differing opinion, that's dangerous. Like,
sure.
I don't even remember my original point, but I need to go on that segue. Like, guys, we need to talk to real people. We need to, and like, people are also saying they're yearning for community. They're yearning for like to rebuild society. The social contract is broken. And of course it's broken when you're using AI as a therapist that's only going to validate narcissistic tendencies. AI is never going to tell you were wrong in that disagreement. They said, you go, girl. You stood your ground. You respected your boundaries.
You are valid in your feelings.
No, you're not. How about that? Like,
and you don't want to hear that.
Like, people don't want to hear difficult things. And sometimes you need difficult truths.
I think that makes me even more concerned for now all the people giving out advice online and stuff like that. Because if you're getting your advice from AI and stuff, I always say, like, even in terms of like a relationship, you'll find so many reasons online why you should leave your relationship. Everyone's telling you that, like, yeah, that's the bare minimum, that's not good enough, that's this and this and this and this, whatever. And I think we get so consumed by it and stuff like that we actually can't think for ourselves, you know, what's going on. They don't have context, voices. They don't know your partner, they don't know anything, you know, but they can just make a judgment off of, like, you know, whatever they're seeing or hearing and stuff like that. And they're going to let you know, like, you know, take my advice as someone who who's just left a relationship. Take my advice. And it's just...
However, I will say, every time the internet en masse says that you should leave your man, you should. They're always right. Sorry, especially when it comes to men. If they say break up with your man, do it. Leave him today. Sorry.
What?
That's my controversial opinion. Because have you not seen those chicks? My husband just allowed the kids to rot in filth for 3 days while I went to a girls' trip. He's so crazy. Now they're all like, you should leave that man. He's negligent. No, you don't know him. Like, he's just goofy. Like, no, leave him today, guys. I'm so sorry. Like, when they say leave him, they're usually right. That's my 2 cents on that. But you see how that's also different people. That's not AI. Because if you told that to AI, they'll be like, he was just having a bad day. You should give him another chance.
I don't know. I feel like, aren't we just raising... I'm seeing a lot of content on narcissism.
Yes.
And I'm just thinking about what you were saying with, like, AI will validate you and all of that kind of stuff. And you'll start thinking, I'm right, you know, and all of that. And I just feel like, is it just, are we all just growing more selfish?
Yes. Sorry, that's a short answer to it. Like, we're living in a very hyper-individualistic society by design. Like, hyper-individualism is how capitalism thrives. It's how the systems that are in place, it's how patriarchy survives, because it makes you think that this crazy man that you're dating, even though he was crazy to every single other ex-girlfriend, he's different to you. Like, those were the crazy girls. I'm different. I'm special. Hyper-individualism makes you think that, like, not all of the bad things that happen in this world, it's never going to happen to you because you're special. And, like, sometimes it sounds harsh, but no, you're not.
Yeah.
Like, cliches are cliches for a reason.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes it's important to listen to wisdom. And when you have too much confirmation bias, wisdom goes out the door. And sometimes you have to listen, especially in romantic relationships and things like that, to wiser women who've come before you. And, like, we see this discourse, especially on Twitter, where there are older women being like, hey, 18-year-old girl, that 29-year-old man is bad for you. And she's going to be like, but I'm different. You're just mad. You're mad he doesn't want you.
And you're bitter.
And it's like, you don't understand. I was you. And I'm telling you to try and teach you. But also at the same time, certain things are canon events. We can't interfere. You will learn. You will learn. And you'll see that people are right. And sometimes, like, you want to help people to avoid the mistakes that you've made. But at the same time, you have to let people make their own mistakes.
Yeah.
But it's also just like, we don't, though. Like, you don't have, we don't have to do this. We don't have to do this. Like, and like, when everyone views themselves from such a hyper individualistic standpoint, community falls to the wayside. And that's where we get the loneliness pandemic. And it's a real thing.
Yeah.
We are all so lonely. I'm so deeply lonely. And that's why I hate that it's been branded as a male loneliness pandemic. Because they're not special. We're not special. We are all lonely. But there are things that we can do to try and rebuild community. And that's why it's important for me in this era of my life to build real life community. Because I was a lonely kid, you know, so I built a lot of online community. And that's what led me into this career path, you know. But it reaches a point where you need things in real life. So that's why I have a book club and I make sure to spend intentional time with my parents and my friends and stuff. Like, you have to be intentional about building community, because otherwise you can live a very isolated, individualistic life. And that's not how we were meant to live. Like, we owe things to each other and we need each other as people. But when you are strictly online, where it's just you, it's about you, everything is about you, and everything is tailored to you in such an individualistic manner because of all of these algorithms and the cookies that are tracking and, like, trying to feed you specific ads, and all your specific needs are targeted. You can lose sight of yourself, because at some point there becomes a switch, instead of analyzing who you are and also kind of shaping who you are. And that's a tricky spot to be in.
Sure. Boy, and I feel so spoiled. You know, genuinely, I feel like there's so much I'm going to ponder on and reflect on, you know, based on this conversation. I want to thank you genuinely for being so generous with like, your information and your knowledge and your wisdom and stuff. It just, I feel full. I feel full. I don't even know what to say.
I'm glad. Like I told you, I am a yapper. Mind you guys, this is not what we were meant to talk about today.
Yeah.
But when I sat down, I said, let the conversation flow. Let's have a chat. Let's just talk. Let's have a good time.
Yeah. And I had the best time. Honestly, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on this platform. I really appreciate it.
Man, may you please tell everyone where to follow you.
You can find me everywhere on the same handle, Foyin Og, Foyinog. And I'll see you guys there.
As always, I'm sending my love. Goodbye.
What in the 20s is going
in the 20s
here?
The 20s,
what
baby.
What in the 20s is going here for my 20s, baby? This is the 20s.